"Pretend to be my wife," the Duke pleaded. But she was shocked by his one condition. England, 1837, Ashborne Estate, Kent. The letter arrived on a morning when the world felt too quiet. Anna stood by the drawing room window, her fingers pressed against the cold glass, watching raindrops race down the pane. Outside, the gardens of her modest family estate blurred into shades of grey and green. Inside, the silence was heavier than it should have been. Her father was dying. She didn't need the physician to tell her again. She could see it in the hollowness of his cheeks, in the way his hands trembled when he tried to hold his teacup, in the labored rise and fall of his chest each night when she sat beside his bed. The envelope in her hand was thick, expensive. The wax seal bore a crest she recognized immediately. A raven clutching a rose. The Duke of Ashborne. Her breath caught. She hadn't seen Alexei Ashborne in 3 years. Not since the night of the Winterbourne ball, when he'd looked at her across the ballroom with eyes so dark they seemed to hold storms, and then vanished without a word. Now, his letter sat unopened in her trembling hands. Anna broke the seal. "Miss Anna Winthrop, I write to you not as an acquaintance, but as a man in desperate need. I require your presence at Ashbourne Hall immediately. The matter is urgent and cannot be conveyed in writing. A carriage will arrive for you tomorrow at dawn. Please come. Alexei Ashborne, Duke of Ashbourne." Her heart hammered against her ribs. The paper felt too heavy, the ink too dark. There was something in the formality of his words that felt wrong, strained, almost pleading beneath the aristocratic veneer. What could the Duke of Ashbourne possibly need from me? The answer came with the creak of her father's bedroom door upstairs. A cough. Wet, rattling, final. She closed her eyes. The physician's last words echoed in her mind. "He has weeks, perhaps a month. I'm sorry, Miss Winthrop. Without the funds for better care for the treatments in London." Funds they didn't have. Funds her father had lost, trying to keep their crumbling estate alive. Anna looked down at the letter again, at the elegant, controlled script, at the signature that seemed to vibrate with unspoken urgency. "Please come." She folded the letter carefully, pressed it against her chest where her heart still raced, and made her decision. Tomorrow, at dawn, she would go to Ashbourne Hall. She would discover what the Duke wanted, and perhaps, she would find a way to save her father's life. If you're ready to uncover the Duke's shocking condition and witness a love story built on secrets, sacrifice, and forbidden longing, subscribe now and comment where you're watching from. This story will take you on a journey you won't forget. The carriage that arrived at dawn was black as midnight, polished to a mirror shine, with the Ashbourne crest emblazoned in silver on its doors. Anna climbed inside with her small travelling bag and her racing heart. The interior smelled of leather and cedar, rich and masculine. The seats were upholstered in deep burgundy velvet that felt too soft, too luxurious for someone like her, a gentlewoman with a crumbling estate and a dying father. The journey to Ashbourne Hall took 2 hours. 2 hours of watching the English countryside roll past in shades of emerald and gold. 2 hours of her mind spinning with questions she couldn't answer. What does he want? Why me? Why now? When the carriage finally turned onto the estate's long drive, Anna's breath stopped. Ashbourne Hall rose from the landscape like something out of a dream or a Gothic novel. It was massive, built of grey stone that seemed to absorb the morning light rather than reflect it. Towers stretched toward the sky. Windows glinted like watchful eyes. Gardens sprawled in geometric perfection, hedges trimmed with military precision. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. The carriage stopped before the grand entrance. A footman in immaculate livery opened the door, his face expressionless. "Miss Winthrop," he said, his voice formal. "His Grace is expecting you in the library." Anna stepped down, her legs unsteady. The gravel crunched beneath her worn boots, a sound that felt too loud, too revealing of her modest circumstances. Inside, the hall was even more overwhelming. Marble floors stretched endlessly. A grand staircase curved upward, like a frozen waterfall. Portraits of stern-faced ancestors lined the walls, their painted eyes following her as she walked. The footman led her down a long corridor, their footsteps echoing. He stopped before a set of double doors carved with intricate designs, ravens and roses intertwined. "His Grace will see you now," the footman said and opened the doors. The library was a cathedral of books. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, filled with leather-bound volumes that smelled of age and knowledge. A fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows across the room. Rain drummed against tall windows that overlooked gardens, disappearing into mist. And there, standing before the fire with his back to her, was Alexei Ashborne. Anna's breath caught. He was taller than she remembered, broader. He wore a dark coat that fit him perfectly, the fabric stretching across shoulders that looked like they could carry the weight of the world. His hair was black as raven's wings, slightly too long, brushing the collar of his shirt. He didn't turn around. "Miss Winthrop," he said, his voice low, rough-edged. "Thank you for coming." "Your Grace?" Anna replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "Your letter was urgent." "It was necessary." Silence stretched between them. The fire crackled. Rain continued its relentless percussion against glass. Finally, Alexei turned. Anna's heart stopped. 3 years had changed him. The boyish handsomeness she remembered from that night at the Winterbourne ball had been carved away, replaced by something harder, darker, devastatingly beautiful. His face was all sharp angles, high cheekbones, a strong jaw shadowed with stubble, a mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile. But his eyes were the same deep, intense gaze she remembered. And they were looking at her with an intensity that made her feel like she was standing too close to a fire. "For you're wondering why I asked you here," he said. "Yes." He moved closer. Each step was measured, controlled, predatory. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that she could see the exhaustion bruising the skin beneath his eyes, close enough that she caught the scent of him, rain and cedar and something darker, something that made her pulse quicken. "I need you to pretend to be my wife," he said. The world tilted. Anna stared at him, certain she'd misheard. "I what?" "For 6 months," Alexei continued, his voice flat, emotionless, as if he were discussing the weather. "You would live here at Ashbourne Hall. You would appear at my side at social functions. You would play the role of the Duchess of Ashbourne in every way that matters publicly." "Why?" The word came out as a whisper. His jaw tightened. A muscle jumped beneath the skin. "That is not your concern." "Not my—" Anna's shock ignited into anger. "You ask me to deceive all of society, to pretend to be your wife, and you won't even tell me why." "No." "Then my answer is no." She turned toward the door, her hands shaking with fury and disbelief. She'd come here hoping for help, for some way to save her father, and instead she found herself facing a man who wanted to use her as a prop in some incomprehensible scheme. "Your father is dying." Anna froze. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Slowly, she turned back. Alexei stood exactly where he'd been, but something in his expression had shifted. There was a crack in the armor, a flicker of something almost human beneath the ducal mask. "The physician says he has weeks," Alexei continued quietly. "Perhaps a month. Without proper treatment, without the specialists in London, without the medications that might give him a few more years of comfort, he will die in pain, Miss Winthrop." Tears burned Anna's eyes. "How do you know that?" "I make it my business to know things that matter. And why does my father's health matter to you?" "It doesn't." His voice was brutal in its honesty. "But it matters to you, and I need you." Anna's hands curled into fists. "So this is blackmail?" "This is an offer." He moved closer again, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "Pretend to be my wife for 6 months. In exchange, I will pay for your father's care. The best physicians in England, treatments, medications, whatever he needs. And when our arrangement ends, I will settle a sum upon you large enough to keep your family estate running for decades." Her mind spun. It was too much, too impossible. "Why me?" she whispered. For the first time, something flickered in those storm-grey eyes, something that might have been pain. "Because 3 years ago, at the Winterbourne ball, you looked at me like I was human," he said quietly. "Not a duke, not a title, just a man. No one has looked at me that way before or since." Anna's breath shuddered. She remembered that night, the way he'd stood at the edge of the ballroom, alone despite the crowd, the way their eyes had met across the distance, the way her heart had recognized something in him, something lonely, something aching, something that matched the emptiness inside her. "What is the condition?" she asked. "You said there's one condition." Alexei's expression hardened again. The brief moment of vulnerability vanished behind ice. "You must never ask me why we're doing this," he said. "You must never question the reasons behind this arrangement, and you must never, under any circumstances, fall in love with me." The last words hit her like a physical blow. Anna stared at him, seeing the warning in his eyes, the steel in his posture, the absolute certainty in his voice. "That's your condition?" she said slowly. "That I not fall in love with you?" "Yes." "That's absurd. That's the condition." Thunder rumbled outside. The fire hissed as rain found its way down the chimney. The library felt too small suddenly, the air too thick. Anna thought of her father, of his labored breathing, of the way he'd held her hand last night and whispered, "I'm sorry I couldn't give you more, my darling girl." She thought of their estate, crumbling into ruin, of the debts piling up like stones around her neck, of the hopelessness that had become her constant companion, and she thought of the man standing before her, this beautiful, broken, mysterious duke who looked at her like she was both his salvation and his doom. "If I agree," she said carefully, "we would have a contract, terms in writing." "Yes. And after 6 months I'm free? No strings, no obligations?" "None. And my father receives care immediately. I've already sent for the physicians. They'll arrive at your estate this afternoon." Anna closed her eyes, felt tears slip down her cheeks, felt the weight of the decision crushing her chest. When she opened her eyes again, Alexei was watching her with an expression she couldn't read, something fierce, something hungry, something that made her wonder if his condition about not falling in love was meant to protect her, or himself. "I have one condition of my own," she said. His eyebrows rose slightly. "Which is?" "You must never lie to me. I won't demand to know your reasons, but if I ask you a direct question, you will answer truthfully or not at all. No deception between us, Your Grace. Only silence or truth." For a long moment, he simply looked at her. Then, slowly, he inclined his head. "Agreed." Anna drew in a deep breath, released it, felt her life splitting into before and after this moment. "Then yes," she whispered. "I'll do it. I'll pretend to be your wife." Something flashed across Alexei's face. Relief, triumph, something darker she couldn't name. He extended his hand toward her, formal, controlled. "Then we have an arrangement, Miss Winthrop." Anna placed her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm, strong, slightly rough. The touch sent electricity racing up her arm, made her heart stutter, made her suddenly, terrifyingly aware that she'd just agreed to play at being married to a man who made her feel things she'd never felt before. A man who demanded she not fall in love with him. A man whose touch already felt like danger and promise intertwined. "When do we begin?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Alexei's thumb brushed across her knuckles, a gesture so light it might have been accidental. His eyes held hers with an intensity that stole her breath. "We begin now," he said softly. "Welcome to Ashborne Hall, wife." Anna's chambers at Ashborne Hall were larger than the entire upper floor of her family's estate. The housekeeper, Mrs. Whitmore, a stern woman with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing, had led her through a maze of corridors to a suite of rooms that took Anna's breath away. A bedroom with a four-poster bed draped in emerald silk. A sitting room with windows overlooking the gardens. A dressing room that currently stood empty, waiting to be filled. "His Grace has arranged for a modiste to arrive tomorrow," Mrs. Whitmore said, her voice crisp and efficient. "You'll need a complete wardrobe befitting your new position. Gowns for morning, afternoon, evening. Riding habits, walking dresses, ball gowns, the works." Anna touched the silk bed hangings, feeling their softness against her fingertips. Everything here was so beautiful, so expensive, so utterly foreign to the life she'd known. "Mrs. Whitmore," she said quietly, "does the staff know about our arrangement?" The housekeeper's expression didn't change. "The staff knows only that His Grace has married in a private ceremony and that you are now the Duchess of Ashborne. What occurs between you and His Grace is none of our concern, Your Grace." Your Grace. The title felt wrong in Anna's ears, like wearing someone else's skin. "Will there be anything else?" Mrs. Whitmore asked. "No, thank you." The housekeeper curtsied, actually curtsied to Anna, and left. Silence descended. Anna sank onto the edge of the massive bed, her hands trembling. What had she done? She'd agreed to live a lie, to pretend to be married to a man she barely knew, to deceive everyone around her for 6 months. For her father. She closed her eyes, thinking of the message that had arrived just before she'd left her estate. The physicians Alexei had sent were already there, already examining her father, already beginning treatments. Her father's last letter to her had been shaky, but hopeful. The doctors say there's a chance, Anna. A real chance. Whatever you've done, wherever you've gone, thank you, my darling girl, thank you. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Come in, she called. The door opened. Alexei stepped inside. Anna shot to her feet, her heart suddenly racing. He'd changed clothes, now wearing dark trousers and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle. His hair was slightly damp, as if he'd just bathed. He looked less like a duke, and more like something dangerous. I wanted to ensure you were settling in, he said, his voice carefully neutral. The rooms are beautiful. Thank you. He nodded, but didn't leave. His eyes moved around the space, landing on everything except her. There was a tension in his shoulders, a tightness in his jaw that made Anna think he was as uncomfortable with this situation as she was. There are things we need to discuss, he said finally. Rules, boundaries. All right. These will be your chambers. I have my own in the West Wing. We'll maintain separate spaces when we're alone. In public, however, we'll need to appear... He paused, searching for the right word. Comfortable with each other. Familiar. How familiar? Anna asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Nothing inappropriate, but we can't seem like strangers. Society would notice. He moved to the window, putting distance between them. You'll need to know things about me. Basic facts. My age? 31. My birthday? December 15th. Favorite color, preferred brandy, the names of my horses. Things a wife would know. Anna watched him standing there, silhouetted against the window, and felt a strange ache in her chest. He looked so alone, so isolated, even in his own home. What's your favorite color? She asked softly. He went still. What? You said I should know, so tell me. What's your favorite color? For a long moment he didn't answer. Then, gray. Why? Because it's the color of the sky before a storm, the color of the ocean in winter. It's honest. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. He turned to face her, and the intensity in his dark eyes made her breath catch. What's yours? Blue, Anna said. The color of forget-me-nots. Because they're small and easy to overlook, but if you pay attention, they're everywhere. Persistent. Beautiful in their own quiet way. Something shifted in Alexei's expression. Something that looked almost like pain. We'll dine together each evening, he said, his voice rougher than before. Breakfast and lunch you may take in your rooms if you prefer, but dinner we take together. The servants would find it odd otherwise. Of course. Tomorrow the modiste arrives. After that we'll begin appearing in society. Small gatherings at first, then larger events. There's a ball at Wintercrest in 2 weeks. We'll attend as husband and wife. Anna's stomach knotted. Will people believe it? That we married so suddenly? I'll handle the rumors, let me worry about society. And your family? Do you have... No. The word was sharp, final. No family. It's just me. The loneliness in his voice made Anna's heart twist. She wanted to ask why, wanted to understand what had shaped this man into someone so isolated, so guarded. But she remembered her promise, not to ask about his reasons, not to dig into the mysteries surrounding this arrangement. Alexei, she said softly, and watched him tense at the sound of his name on her lips. This condition of yours, about not falling in love with you, why is it so important? His jaw clenched. That's dangerously close to asking about reasons, Anna. I'm asking about you, about what you're afraid of. I'm not afraid. Yes, you are, I can see it. He crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping so close she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. His presence overwhelmed her. His height, his heat, the barely leashed intensity radiating from him like a physical force. Don't do this, he said, his voice low, rough. Don't try to understand me. Don't try to save me. Don't make me into some romantic hero in your mind. I'm not good, Anna. I'm not kind. I'm using you for my own purposes, and when this is over, I will let you go without a second thought. Remember that." But even as he spoke the words, his hand lifted, slowly as if moving against his will, and his fingers brushed a strand of hair back from her face. The touch was gentle, reverent, completely at odds with the harshness of his words. Anna's breath shuddered. "You're lying." "What?" "You're lying right now. You said you'd never lie to me, only offer silence or truth. And you're lying." His hand dropped. His expression shuttered. "Believe what you want." He turned and walked to the door, his movements rigid with control. "Dinner is at 8, he said without looking back. "Don't be late, wife." The door closed behind him with a soft click. Anna stood alone in her beautiful borrowed chambers, her heart racing, her skin still tingling where he touched her. She thought about his condition, about not falling in love with him, and she realized with a sinking feeling in her chest that it might already be too late. Because the Duke of Ashborne, with his storm's grey eyes and his carefully built walls and his moments of achingly soft vulnerability, he was exactly the kind of man she could love, exactly the kind of man who would destroy her heart. Thunder rumbled outside. Rain began to fall in earnest, drumming against the windows like a warning. Anna closed her eyes and whispered a prayer to a God she wasn't sure was listening. "Please don't let me break his one rule. Please don't let me fall." But somewhere deep inside, in the part of her that had recognized something kindred in him that night 3 years ago, she knew it was already too late. The pretending had begun, and her heart had never been good at distinguishing between performance and truth. The modiste arrived at precisely 9 o'clock the next morning with 3 assistants, 2 trunks of fabric samples, and an expression that suggested she'd dressed royalty and wouldn't be impressed by anything less than perfection. "Your Grace," Madame Lisette said, her French accent thick, her eyes sharp as she circled Anna like a hawk assessing prey. "We have much work to do, no?" Anna stood in her dressing room in her simple chemise, feeling exposed and inadequate. Madame Lisette's assistants measured her with ruthless efficiency, waist, hips, bust, arms, inseam, calling out numbers in rapid French, while the modiste made notes in a leather-bound book. "Too thin," Madame Lisette muttered. "We must create the illusion of more curve, yes? His Grace, he prefers a woman with softness, I think." "His Grace's preferences are not your concern," came a voice from the doorway. Anna's head snapped up. Alexei stood there, leaning against the doorframe with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. How long had he been watching? Madame Lisette curtsied quickly. "Your Grace, forgive me. I only meant—" "I know what you meant." His eyes moved to Anna, and she felt the weight of his gaze like a physical touch. "My wife is perfect as she is. Dress her to complement her natural beauty, not to transform her into someone else." "My wife." The words sent a shiver down Anna's spine. "Of course, Your Grace," Madame Lisette said, her tone considerably more respectful. "I will create gowns worthy of Her Grace's elegance." Alexei nodded and left, but Anna felt the ghost of his presence long after he'd gone. She caught her reflection in the mirror, cheeks flushed, eyes too bright, and forced herself to breathe normally. "This is just a performance," she reminded herself. "He's playing his part, nothing more." The fitting took hours. Madame Lisette draped fabric after fabric across Anna's shoulders, silk in sapphire blue, muslin in soft cream, velvet in deep emerald. She sketched designs with quick, confident strokes, morning dresses with empire waists and delicate embroidery, evening gowns with low necklines and flowing skirts, a riding habit in midnight blue with military-style frogging. "For the Wintercrest Ball," Madame Lisette said, holding up a swatch of silver silk that caught the light like water, "we will create something magnifique, something that will make all of society understand why the Duke married you." "And what would make them understand that?" Anna asked quietly. Madame Lisette smiled. "Because you will look like a woman worth breaking all the rules for, Your Grace." That evening, Anna descended the grand staircase at precisely 8 o'clock, wearing the only decent gown she owned, a simple blue dress that had been her mother's, altered to fit her. It was woefully inadequate for a duchess, but it was all she had until Madame Lisette's creations were complete. She found Alexei in the small dining room, not the grand banquet hall, but an intimate space with a table set for 2 before a crackling fire. He stood as she entered, and something flickered in his eyes as he took in her appearance. "That gown," he said, "it was your mother's." Anna stiffened. How did you know? The style. It's from 15 years ago. And the way you wear it. He moved closer, his voice softening. Like it's armor. Like it connects you to someone you lost. Tears burned Anna's eyes. She died when I was 12. I'm sorry. Don't. She shook her head. Don't be kind to me. It makes this harder. Makes what harder? Pretending this isn't real. Pretending I don't feel something every time you look at me like that. Nothing, Anna whispered. Shall we eat? Dinner was a strange kind of torture. The food was exquisite. Roasted pheasant, glazed vegetables, delicate pastries, but Anna barely tasted it. She was too aware of Alexei sitting across from her, too conscious of the way his eyes kept finding her face, too distracted by the way the firelight played across his features. Tell me about yourself, he said quietly. Things society wouldn't know. Things a husband should know. Anna set down her fork. Why? Because we need to be convincing. Because I want to know. The admission hung between them. All right, Anna said slowly. I used to paint. Watercolors mostly. Landscapes and flowers. Nothing very good, but I loved it. Used to? We had to sell my paints when money got tight. Frivolous expenses, father called them. Alexei's jaw tightened. That's not frivolous. That's beautiful. It doesn't matter now. Yes, it does. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. What else? I love to read. Gothic novels mostly. The scandalous ones that proper ladies aren't supposed to enjoy. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Which is your favorite? The Castle of Otranto, Anna said, because it's dark and strange and everyone in it is a little bit broken, and somehow, by the end, broken pieces manage to fit together into something almost whole. The smile faded from Alexei's face. He looked at her with an expression she couldn't decipher, something hungry, something aching, something that made her feel like she'd just revealed far more than she'd intended. My turn, she said quickly. Tell me something about you, something no one else knows. Anna, not about your reasons for this arrangement, something real, something human. He was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I'm afraid of the dark, he said quietly. Anna blinked. What? I've been afraid of the dark since I was 7 years old. His fingers gripped his wineglass tightly. I sleep with candles burning, always. It's absurd for a grown man, for a duke, but I can't. He stopped, his throat working. I can't bear complete darkness. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in Anna's chest. It's not absurd, she whispered. Everyone's afraid of something. What are you afraid of? You, she thought. I'm afraid of you, of what you make me feel, of how easily you could break me. Forgetting, she said instead. I'm afraid of forgetting my mother's face, my father's voice, the things that make me who I am. I'm afraid that if I'm not careful, I'll wake up one day and not recognize myself in the mirror. Alexei's gaze held hers across the table. The distance between them felt too vast and too small at the same time. I won't let you forget who you are, he said, his voice rough with promise. Even if the whole world believes you're the Duchess of Ashborne, I'll remember Anna Winthrop, the girl who paints flowers and reads Gothic novels and looks at broken things like they might still be beautiful. Anna's breath caught. Alexei. He stood abruptly, the movement sharp. It's late. You should rest. Tomorrow we begin preparing for society. He left before she could respond, his footsteps echoing in the corridor. Anna sat alone at the elegant table, surrounded by crystal and silver and the lingering warmth of his words, and wondered how she was supposed to keep her heart safe from a man who saw her so completely. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. Anna spent her mornings with Madame Lisette, being fitted for the seemingly endless array of gowns. She spent her afternoons learning the intricacies of managing a ducal household from Mrs. Whitmore, everything from menu planning to staff management to the subtle politics of aristocratic entertaining. And she spent her evenings with Alexei. They dined together every night. Sometimes they talked, careful conversations that skirted around anything too personal, too dangerous. Sometimes they sat in companionable silence, reading in the library while rain drummed against the windows. Slowly, Anna began to learn him. She learned that he took his tea black, no sugar, that he had nightmares sometimes. She'd hear him pacing in his chambers late at night, footsteps echoing through the halls, that he was unfailingly kind to the servants, remembering their names and asking after their families with genuine interest. She learned that he was lonely in a way that made her heart ache, and she learned that every time he looked at her with those intense dark eyes, her resolve to keep her distance crumbled a little bit more. "You're getting better at this," Alexei said one evening as they practiced dancing in the ballroom. His hand rested at her waist, warm through the thin fabric of her gown. "You barely step on my feet anymore." "I'm a terrible dancer," Anna admitted, focusing on the steps. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, anything to avoid looking up into his face. "I never had proper lessons." "You're perfect." The word made her stumble. Alexei caught her easily, his arms strong and steady, and suddenly they were too close, his chest against hers, his breath stirring her hair, his heartbeat. She could feel it, fast and hard, matching her own. "Anna," he said, his voice low, strained. "We should stop." "Why?" "Because I'm dangerously close to forgetting that this is pretend." Her eyes flew to his face. What she saw there stole her breath, hunger, longing, something fierce and desperate that he was barely holding back. "Alexei." "The Wintercrest ball is tomorrow," he said, stepping back, putting careful distance between them. "After that, society will know. There will be no going back." "I know." "Are you certain you want to do this? It's not too late to change your mind." Anna thought about her father, growing stronger every day thanks to the physicians Alexei had sent. She thought about their estate, saved from ruin by Alexei's money. She thought about the 6 months ahead, playing at being his wife, pretending that what she felt wasn't real. "I'm certain," she said. Alexei nodded slowly. His eyes held hers for a long moment, searching for something, needing something she wasn't sure she could name. "Then tomorrow night," he said quietly, "we show the world that the Duke of Ashborne has a duchess, and God help us both." He left her standing alone in the ballroom, surrounded by candlelight and silence, and the ghost of his touch on her skin. Anna pressed her hand to her racing heart and whispered the truth she'd been avoiding. "I think I'm already in love with you." The words echoed in the empty ballroom, a confession and a damnation. Tomorrow, they would face society as husband and wife. But tonight, Anna faced the truth she could no longer deny. She'd broken his one condition, and she had no idea how to stop. The silver gown Madame Lisette had created was a masterpiece. Anna stared at her reflection in the mirror, barely recognizing herself. The dress fit like it had been painted onto her body, empire waist in the Regency fashion, flowing skirt that shimmered with every movement, delicate silver embroidery that looked like frost patterns on a winter window. Her hair had been swept up into an elegant arrangement of curls, with small silver pins that sparkled like stars. She looked like a duchess. She looked like someone who belonged at the Duke of Ashbourne's side. "Perfect," her lady's maid breathed. "His Grace won't be able to take his eyes off you." "That's what I'm afraid of," Anna thought. A knock at the door made her heart leap. "Come in." Alexei entered, and the world stopped. He wore formal evening attire, black coat fitted perfectly across his broad shoulders, silver waistcoat that matched her gown, white cravat tied with elegant precision. His dark hair was slightly tousled, as if he'd been running his hands through it. His eyes found her and went wide. "Anna," he breathed. "You look acceptable," she offered, her voice unsteady. "Devastating." The word hung in the air between them. The maid quietly excused herself, leaving them alone. Alexei crossed the room slowly, like he was afraid sudden movement might shatter the moment. He stopped in front of her, his eyes traveling over her face with an intensity that made her feel naked, despite the elaborate gown. "I have something for you," he said quietly, pulling a velvet box from his pocket. Anna's breath caught. "Alexei, you've already given me so much. This is different." He opened the box, revealing a necklace that made Anna's heart stop. Her delicate chain of silver and diamonds, with a center stone that gleamed with inner fire. Dark and mysterious, like his soul. "It was my mother's. The only thing of hers I kept." "I can't," Anna whispered. "This is too precious. You're about to stand beside me in front of all of society and lie for me. The least I can do is give you something real." His voice was rough. "May I?" Anna nodded, unable to speak. Alexei moved behind her. She felt his fingers at the nape of her neck, warm, slightly unsteady, as he fastened the necklace. His breath stirred her hair. His presence surrounded her like heat from a fire. The diamonds settled against her throat, cool and heavy. "There," he murmured. His hands lingered on her shoulders. In the mirror, their eyes met. "Now you look like mine. I am yours," Anna thought helplessly. "I've been yours since the moment I stepped into your library." But she couldn't say it, couldn't admit it, couldn't break the one rule he'd given her. "We should go," she said instead. "We don't want to be late." Alexei's hands fell away. "Anna, I need you to understand something before we do this." "What?" "Tonight, people will talk. They'll say things about you, about us, about why a duke would marry a nobody from a crumbling estate. Some of it will be cruel. Can you bear that?" Anna turned to face him. "I can bear anything if it means keeping my father alive. That's not what I asked." "What are you asking?" His eyes held hers, dark and churning with emotions she couldn't decipher. "I'm asking if you'll let me protect you, if you'll trust me to shield you from the worst of it." "Why would you do that? This is just an arrangement." "Is it?" The question came out raw, almost desperate. "Anna, is that really all this is to you?" Her heart hammered. This was the moment where she could tell the truth or keep lying, keep pretending, keep protecting herself. "Yes," she lied. "This is just an arrangement." Something died in Alexei's eyes. He stepped back, his expression shuddering, becoming the cold ducal mask she'd first seen in his library. "Of course," he said flatly. "Forgive me for suggesting otherwise." "Alexei, the carriage is waiting, we should go." He offered her his arm, formal, distant. Anna took it, feeling the warmth of his body through his coat, feeling the careful way he held himself apart from her now. "I'm sorry," she wanted to say. "I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I'm falling in love with you when you told me not to. I'm sorry for breaking your rule." But she said nothing. They descended the stairs in silence, stepped into the carriage in silence, rode through the dark countryside toward Wintercrest in silence that felt like glass, fragile and sharp, and ready to shatter at the slightest touch. Wintercrest Manor blazed with light. Lanterns lined the long drive. Every window glowed golden. Music spilled from the open doors, strings and laughter, and the murmur of aristocratic voices. Carriages lined up to disgorge their elegantly dressed occupants, who swept up the stairs in waves of silk and jewels. Anna's hands trembled. "Breathe," Alexei said quietly, his voice softer than it had been. "I'm right here." Their carriage reached the entrance. A footman opened the door. Alexei stepped out first, then turned to help Anna down. The moment her feet touched the ground, she felt eyes on them, curious, calculating, sharp as knives. "The Duke of Ashborne has arrived, and he's brought someone. Who is she? Where did she come from?" Alexei tucked her hand into the crook of his arm, his grip steady and sure. "Chin up," he murmured. "You're a duchess now. Act like it." They climbed the stairs together. The ballroom took Anna's breath away. It was a fairy tale, all crystal chandeliers and gilded mirrors and walls of windows overlooking gardens lit by thousands of candles. Ladies in gowns like flowers swirled across the dance floor. Gentlemen in formal black watched from the sides, champagne in hand, eyes assessing everything. And when the Duke of Ashborne entered with a woman on his arm, the entire room went silent. Anna felt their stares like physical weight, felt their judgment, their curiosity, their barely concealed shock. Who is she? The Duke of Ashborne married? Since when? Why wasn't there an announcement? Look at her dress, trying so hard to look like she belongs. Look at her face, pretty enough, but common. Look at the way he holds her. Is this real, or just another scandal? "Lord and Lady Wintercrest," Alexei said smoothly, leading Anna toward their hosts. "Allow me to introduce my wife, Anna Ashborne, Duchess of Ashborne." Wife, Duchess. The titles felt wrong in Anna's ears, but Lady Wintercrest smiled warmly. "Your Grace, what a delightful surprise. We had no idea you'd married." She took Anna's hands, her eyes kind. "Welcome, my dear. You must tell me everything. How you met, where you wed, how you managed to capture our elusive Duke's heart." Anna opened her mouth, panic rising. "We met 3 years ago at a ball," Alexei said, his voice smooth as silk. "But the timing wasn't right. When I saw her again this season, I realized I'd been a fool to let her slip away the first time. So I married her immediately, before she could change her mind and realize she was too good for me." The warmth in his voice sounded so real. The way he looked at her, like she was precious, cherished, felt so genuine that Anna almost believed it herself. "How romantic," Lady Wintercrest sighed. "You simply must dance. Everyone will want to see you together." Before Anna could protest, Alexei was leading her onto the dance floor. The music swelled. His hand found her waist. His other hand clasped hers, and they began to move. "You're doing beautifully," he murmured, his mouth close to her ear. "Everyone believes it." "They shouldn't," Anna whispered back. "We barely look at each other like a married couple." "How should we look at each other?" "Like you're the air I breathe, like I die without you. Like every moment apart is agony." "I don't know," she said instead. Alexei's hand at her waist tightened slightly. "Then let me show you." He pulled her closer, scandalously close for a public ball, their bodies nearly touching. His eyes found hers and held them, and what Anna saw there made her breath stop. Hunger, longing, desperation, and something that looked dangerously like love. "Alexei," she breathed. "What are you doing?" "Convincing society we're married," he said, his voice rough. "What does it look like?" "It looks like you're breaking your own rule. It looks like you're feeling what I feel. It looks like this pretense is killing you as much as it's killing me." They moved across the floor in perfect synchronization, lost in each other, the rest of the ballroom fading to nothing. Anna forgot about the watching eyes, forgot about the arrangement, forgot about everything except the man holding her, looking at her like she was the only real thing in a world of illusions. "You're so beautiful," Alexei whispered. "I thought it the first time I saw you. I've thought it every day since. And tonight, watching you descend the stairs in silver, looking like moonlight given form." His voice cracked. "Anna, you're destroying me." "No," she whispered back, tears burning her eyes. "You're destroying yourself. You're the one who made the rules. You're the one who demanded I not fall in love with you. I know. Then why do you look at me like this?" "Because I'm a fool," he said hoarsely. "Because despite every promise I made to myself, despite knowing this will end in disaster, I can't stop wanting you. Can't stop." He stopped himself, his jaw clenched, his eyes closed briefly, as if he were in pain. The music ended. They stopped moving, but didn't separate. Stood there in the middle of the ballroom, so close Anna could feel his heartbeat racing against hers, so close she could see the war raging in his eyes. "Alexei," she breathed. "What are we doing?" "Playing our parts," he said, but his voice was shattered. "That's all this is, that's all it can be." He stepped back. The loss of his warmth felt like a wound. "I need air," he said abruptly. "Excuse me." He walked away, leaving Anna standing alone on the dance floor, surrounded by curious stares, her heart breaking into pieces. Anna found him in the gardens. He stood at the edge of the terrace, one hand braced against the stone balustrade, his whole body rigid with tension. The moonlight turned him into a sculpture, beautiful and cold and utterly alone. "You shouldn't have followed me," he said, without turning around. "I know. Go back inside, Anna." "No. For God's sake." He spun to face her, and what she saw in his expression made her breath catch. Anguish, raw and unguarded. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to me?" "Tell me," she said, moving closer. "Tell me the truth, not silence. Truth." "The truth?" His laugh was bitter. "The truth is, I'm falling apart. The truth is, I made that stupid condition about not falling in love because I knew from the moment I saw you again that you could ruin me, that you were dangerous, that you were everything I'd ever wanted, and everything I can never have." "Why can't you have it?" Anna demanded. "Why did you need this arrangement? Why did you choose me? Alexei, please, just tell me." "Because I'm dying." The words exploded from him. "I'm dying, Anna. I have a condition, a weakness of the heart the physicians can't cure. I have months, maybe a year if I'm lucky, and I needed—" His voice broke. "I needed someone to stand beside me at the end, Someone to make the last part of my life feel less empty. Someone to pretend that I mattered to someone before I disappeared from this world. The truth hit Anna like a physical blow. All the air left her lungs. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not. You can't." "Now you understand," Alexei said, his voice flat. "Now you understand why I told you not to fall in love with me. Because this ends, Anna. In 6 months I'll be too weak to maintain the pretense. In a year I'll be gone, and you'll be free to live your life without the burden of loving a dying man." Tears streamed down Anna's face. "You're not a burden." "Yes, I am. That's why this has to stay pretend. That's why you have to keep your heart safe." "It's too late," she sobbed. "Don't you understand? It's already too late. I love you. I've been falling in love with you since that first night in your library. I love your loneliness and your kindness and the way you see me like I'm worth seeing. I love you, and I don't care if we only have months. I don't care if this breaks me. At least I'll have had this. At least I'll have loved you." "Anna!" She crossed the distance between them and took his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. "Let me love you. Please. Let me be real instead of pretend. Let me have whatever time we have left." "You don't know what you're asking," he whispered, but his hands came up to cover hers, holding them against his face like they were precious. "Yes, I do. I'm asking to be your wife. Really. Not for society. Not for an arrangement. For us." For a long moment they simply looked at each other. Anna saw the moment his walls crumbled, saw the moment he stopped fighting. "God help me," he breathed. "I love you too. I've loved you since that night 3 years ago when you looked at me like I was worth looking at. I've loved you every day since you walked into my library, and loving you has been the most terrifying, beautiful thing I've ever felt." Then he was kissing her. Finally kissing her. His mouth found hers with desperate tenderness, fierce and gentle, claiming and pleading all at once. Anna melted against him, her arms wrapping around his neck, her whole world narrowing to this. His lips on hers, his hands cradling her face, his heart racing against hers. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alexei rested his forehead against hers. "I'm still dying," he whispered. "I know. This will still end. I know. You'll still lose me." "Then let me have you while I can," Anna said fiercely. "Let me love you for however long we have. Let me be really, truly yours." Alexei's arms tightened around her. "You already are," he said hoarsely. "You've been mine since the moment you agreed to this insane arrangement. Since the moment you looked at me with those blue eyes and saw past the Duke to the man underneath. Anna, you've been mine all along. I was just too afraid to admit it. Then don't be afraid anymore." "I don't think I remember how to be anything but afraid," he admitted. "This, what I feel for you, it terrifies me." "Then we'll be terrified together," Anna said, and kissed him again. They stood in the moonlit gardens, wrapped in each other, and somewhere inside the ballroom the music played on. Society danced and gossiped, unaware that the Duke of Ashborne and his pretend wife had just stopped pretending. The arrangement had become real, and with reality came both the most beautiful gift and the most devastating truth. They had found love, but love had an expiration date, and no amount of wishing could change that. They returned to Ashbourne Hall in the early hours of morning, wrapped in a silence that felt entirely different from before. This wasn't the careful distance they'd maintained. This was the quiet intimacy of two people who'd just confessed their hearts, tender and raw, and a little bit terrified of what came next. Alexei helped Anna from the carriage, his hand lingering at her waist. In the moonlight his face looked younger somehow, as if admitting the truth had lifted some great weight from his shoulders. "Are you tired?" he asked softly. Anna shook her head. "Too much has happened. I don't think I could sleep if I tried. Come with me. I want to show you something." He led her not to the main entrance, but around the side of the manor, through gardens silvered with moonlight, to a small door hidden behind climbing roses. It opened with an old key Alexei produced from his pocket. Inside was a conservatory Anna had never seen before, a glass-roofed room filled with plants growing wild and beautiful in the darkness. Moonlight streamed through the glass, turning everything into shades of silver and shadow. The air smelled of earth and green, growing things, and something sweet she couldn't name. "This was my mother's," Alexei said quietly, lighting a few candles scattered around the space. After she died, my father locked it up, said it hurt too much to remember her. I found it again when I inherited the estate. I've been restoring it, trying to bring back some of what was lost." Anna turned slowly, taking in the beauty of it. Roses climbing the walls, vines hanging from the ceiling, small trees with white blossoms she didn't recognize. It was like stepping into a secret world. "It's beautiful," she breathed. She loved beautiful things. Alexei moved to a workbench in the corner and picked up something wrapped in cloth. She also loved to paint, watercolors, mostly flowers and gardens. Anna's heart stopped. "Alexei?" He unwrapped the cloth, revealing painting supplies, brushes, paints, clean paper. "I thought, if you wanted, you could paint here, in her space." "It feels right somehow." Tears blurred Anna's vision. "You remembered." "I remember everything you've told me," he said quietly. "Every word, Anna. They matter." She crossed the space between them and wrapped her arms around him, pressing her face against his chest, feeling his heart beating strong and steady beneath her cheek. His arms came around her immediately, holding her close. "How long?" she whispered. "How long have the physicians given you?" 6 months to a year. Maybe longer if I'm careful, maybe less if I'm not." "Does it hurt?" "Sometimes my heart doesn't beat right. Too fast, then too slow. There are moments when I can't breathe, when the room spins, when I think this is it, this is the end." His voice was steady, but she could feel the tension in his body. "But it's not the physical pain that frightens me most. It's the thought of leaving behind nothing. No one who will remember me as anything more than a title." "I'll remember you," Anna said fiercely, pulling back to look up at him. "I'll remember every moment, every word, every look. You won't disappear, Alexei, not from me." His hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing away her tears. "I don't deserve you. Too late. You're stuck with me now. For how long? For as long as we have." She turned her face into his palm, pressing a kiss there. "No more pretending. No more keeping distance. If we only have months, I want them to be real. I want to know everything about you. I want to love you without holding back." "Anna, promise me," she whispered. "Promise me you'll let me in, all the way. No more walls." Alexei's eyes closed. When they opened again, they were bright with unshed tears. "I promise," he said hoarsely. "No more walls." He kissed her then, slowly, deeply, like he was trying to memorize the taste of her, the feel of her, like he was afraid she might vanish if he let go. Anna kissed him back with everything she had, pouring all her love and fear and desperate hope into the connection between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alexei rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me tonight," he whispered. Not for anything improper, just stay, let me hold you, let me fall asleep knowing you're there." "Yes," Anna breathed. "Yes." He took her hand and led her from the conservatory, through the silent halls of Ashborne to his chambers in the West Wing, rooms she'd never entered before. His bedroom was surprisingly simple for a duke. Dark wood furniture, deep blue curtains, books stacked on every surface, and candles, dozens of them, scattered throughout the room, casting warm golden light that pushed back the shadows. "I'm afraid of the dark," he'd told her. Now she understood why. The darkness held death, held endings, held the future he was trying desperately to outrun. Anna squeezed his hand. "Help me with my dress?" Alexei's breath caught, but he moved behind her, his fingers finding the tiny buttons running down her spine. He worked slowly, carefully, each button released with aching gentleness. When the dress finally loosened, Anna caught it against her chest and moved behind the screen in the corner, removing the gown and the layers beneath until she wore only her chemise. Texto Politicus YouTube. Textipals 1. When she emerged, Alexei had removed his coat and waistcoat, standing in just his shirt and trousers, his feet bare, his hair mussed from running his hands through it. He looked younger, vulnerable, heartbreakingly human. "Come here," he said softly. Anna crossed to the bed. Alexei pulled back the covers and they climbed in together, awkward at first, uncertain how to arrange themselves. Then his arm came around her waist, drawing her back against his chest, tucking her into the curve of his body. "Is this all right?" he murmured against her hair. "It's perfect." They lay there in the candlelight, wrapped around each other, and Anna felt his heart beating against her back, too fast, then stuttering, then racing again. The erratic rhythm that was stealing him from her. "Tell me about your mother," she said quietly. "What was she like?" Alexei was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "She was warmth," he said finally. "That's what I remember most. She was warm and soft, and always smelled like roses. She used to sing to me at night when I couldn't sleep. Silly songs, French lullabies. Her voice wasn't particularly good, but I loved it anyway." His arm tightened around Anna. "She died when I was 7. A fever that took her in 3 days. My father..." He shut down after that. Locked away everything that reminded him of her, including me in a way. "Alexei," Anna whispered, her heart breaking for the little boy he'd been. "That's when the fear of the dark started. The night she died, they made me say goodbye to her in her room. All the candles had been extinguished. It was so dark I couldn't see her face, couldn't see anything except shadows. And I knew she was gone. That darkness had taken her. After that I couldn't bear it. Still can't." Anna turned in his arms, needing to see his face. His eyes were haunted, lost in memories that still had the power to hurt. "You're not that little boy anymore," she said gently. "And you're not alone in the dark. I'm here. For now. For as long as you need me." Alexei's hand came up to stroke her hair, his touch reverent. "I need you forever," he whispered. "But forever isn't something I can have." "Then we'll make our own forever," Anna said fiercely. "We'll pack a lifetime into whatever time we have. Every day, Alexei, every moment, we'll make them count." "How are you so brave?" he asked wonderingly. "How are you not terrified?" "I am terrified," she admitted. "I'm terrified of losing you. I'm terrified of the pain that's coming. But I'm more terrified of the idea of not loving you, of walking away because it's easier. That would be the real tragedy, having the chance to love someone extraordinary and choosing safety instead." "I'm not extraordinary." "Yes, you are." She cupped his face in her hands. "You're the man who sent physicians to save a stranger's father, who restored his dead mother's conservatory because beauty mattered to her, who sleeps with candles burning because darkness is his enemy, who looks at me like I'm precious. Alexei, you're the most extraordinary man I've ever known." His eyes closed, fresh tears slipping free. "Don't make me into a hero, Anna. I'm selfish. I brought you here to ease my loneliness. I'm using you." "No, you gave me the choice and I chose you. I'll keep choosing you." Alexei pulled her closer, burying his face in her hair, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Anna held him while he broke, while the facade he'd maintained for so long finally crumbled completely, while he let himself be vulnerable and raw and human. "I'm so afraid," he whispered against her neck. "I'm so afraid of leaving you." I know. I don't want to die, Anna. I'm not ready. There's so much I haven't done, haven't felt, haven't..." "Shh." She stroked his hair, his back, offering what comfort she could. "We're not going to waste time being afraid. We're going to live, Alexei. Really live, starting tomorrow." "Starting tomorrow," he echoed, his voice steadier. They held each other as the candles burned lower, as the night deepened around them, as their hearts beat together. One strong and steady, one stuttering and failing, but both stubbornly continuing in defiance of fate. Eventually, Anna felt Alexei's breathing even out, felt the tension leave his body as sleep finally claimed him. She stayed awake longer, watching his face in the candlelight. The strong lines, the dark lashes against his cheeks, the mouth that had finally relaxed from its usual grim line. "I love you," she thought. "I love you. And I'm going to make every day we have beautiful. I promise." She pressed a kiss to his forehead and let sleep take her too, wrapped safe in his arms, the candles burning their vigil against the dark. Anna woke to sunlight streaming through windows and the realization that she was alone. She sat up quickly, her heart racing with irrational panic. Then she saw the note on the pillow beside her, written in Alexei's elegant script. "Gone riding. Didn't want to wake you. Come find me in the stables when you're ready." "Ah." She pressed the note against her chest, smiling despite the lingering fear. He was all right. He was here. They had today. Anna dressed quickly in one of her new morning gowns, a simple dress in pale blue muslin, and made her way to the stables. The morning was crisp and clear. the kind of English autumn day that felt stolen from summer's memory. She found Alexei in the stable yard, standing beside a massive black stallion that looked entirely too wild to be ridden. He was dressed in riding clothes, his hair wind-blown, his cheeks flushed from exercise. He looked alive in a way she'd never seen before, younger, lighter, almost happy. "You're awake," he said, his face breaking into a smile that made her heart stutter. "I was beginning to think you'd sleep until noon." "Someone kept me up late," Anna teased. His smile turned tender. He crossed to her, unconcerned with propriety or watching eyes, and kissed her softly. "Good morning, wife." Wife. The word sent warmth flooding through her. Not pretend anymore, real. "Good morning, husband," she replied, and watched his eyes darken with emotion. "Can you ride?" he asked. "It's been years, but yes." "Good." He turned to the stable master. "Saddle lady for her grace, please." Minutes later, Anna found herself mounted on a gentle grey mare, following Alexei as he led them away from the manor, across fields turning gold with autumn, toward a line of trees in the distance. They rode in comfortable silence, the horses' hooves drumming against the earth, the wind carrying the scent of dying leaves and approaching winter. Anna felt her worries falling away with each stride. Here, there was only movement and sun, and the man riding beside her, looking at her like she was a miracle. Eventually, they reached a small lake hidden among the trees, water like glass reflecting the sky, willows trailing their branches along the shore, completely private and perfectly still. "I used to come here as a boy," Alexei said, dismounting and helping Anna down. His hands lingered at her waist. When the hall felt too big, too empty, this place was peaceful. "It's beautiful." They walked to the water's edge, and Alexei spread his coat on the ground for them to sit. Anna settled beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched, and they sat in silence, watching sunlight dance across the water. "Anna," Alexei said finally, "I want to tell you everything. About my condition, about why I couldn't tell you before, about all of it. You don't have to. I want to." He took her hand, threading their fingers together. "The physicians diagnosed me 2 years ago. A weakness in my heart, they said. Hereditary. My father had it too, though he managed to hide it until the end. They told me I had 5 years, maybe less, that I should put my affairs in order, find an heir, prepare for the inevitable." Anna's throat tightened, but she stayed silent, letting him speak. "I tried to live normally at first, attended balls, managed the estate, played the part of the eligible duke. But everywhere I went, I saw the women looking at me, calculating, ambitious, wanting the title. None of them saw me, and I realized I was going to die alone, unloved. Just another duke who'd lived and died and left nothing but a name in the family records." His voice cracked. "I couldn't bear it." "So you decided to find someone," Anna said softly. "Someone who would agree to pretend. Yes, someone who needed something badly enough that they'd agree to the arrangement. Someone I could trust to leave when the time came, not stay out of pity or obligation." He turned to look at her. "And then I remembered you, the girl from the Winterbourne ball who'd looked at me like I mattered, who'd smiled at me from across a ballroom and made me feel human for 5 perfect minutes before duty called me away." "I thought you'd forgotten me," Anna admitted. "When you disappeared that night without a word, I thought I'd imagined the connection. I could never forget you. You haunted me, Anna. For 3 years I'd think about you at the strangest times. Wonder where you were, what you were doing, if you'd married someone else." His thumb stroked across her knuckles. "When I learned about your father's illness, about your family's financial troubles, it seemed like fate, like the universe giving me one last gift, a chance to have you near me, even if only for a little while." "And the condition?" Anna asked. "About not falling in love?" Alexei's laugh was bitter. "That was me trying to protect us both. I thought if I made it a rule, if I kept distance between us, I could prevent exactly what's happened. I didn't want you to grieve for me. Didn't want to leave you with a broken heart." He cupped her face gently. "But I underestimated you. I underestimated how impossible you'd be to resist." "I'm not trying to resist anymore," Anna said. "Neither should you." "I'm not." He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. "I'm done fighting this, done pretending. For however long I have left, I'm yours. Completely." "Then let's not waste another moment on sadness," Anna said firmly. Let's live, Alexei. Really live. What do you suggest? Anna stood, pulling him up with her. Take me back to the conservatory, teach me which flowers were your mother's favorites. Then tomorrow we'll do something else. Visit the village, walk through the gardens, read terrible poetry to each other, I don't care, as long as we're together. Alexei's eyes shone. You're extraordinary. Do you know that? I learned from the best. She kissed him quickly. Now come on. Race you back to the stables. She gathered her skirts and ran toward the horses, laughing when she heard Alexei's surprised shout behind her. He caught up easily, his longer legs carrying him faster, and he swept her up into his arms, spinning her around until they were both dizzy and laughing like children. I love you, he said, setting her down, but keeping her close. God, Anna, I love you so much it terrifies me. Then be terrified, she said, kissing him soundly. But be alive first. They rode back to Ashborne Hall at a gallop, racing each other like they were running away from time itself, stealing joy from the moment, because moments were all they had. And for today, for now, for this beautiful borrowed morning, it was enough. The days that followed became a series of small perfections. Anna painted in the conservatory, while Alexei worked through estate papers, reading correspondence aloud to make her laugh. They took breakfast together in the small dining room, then spent afternoons exploring the grounds, discovering hidden gardens, neglected follies, secret corners of the estate that Alexei had forgotten existed. They attended a small dinner party at a neighboring estate, where Anna watched Alexei charm their hosts with effortless grace, while his hand never left the small of her back. They danced until midnight, and when they returned home, Alexei carried her up the stairs despite her protests, both of them laughing so hard they could barely breathe. Every night, Anna slept in his arms. Every night she listened to his heartbeat, irregular, unpredictable, terrifying, and tried not to think about the silence that was coming. Every morning she woke grateful for another day. But the shadow of his illness was always there, lurking at the edges of their happiness. She saw it in the way he sometimes pressed his hand to his chest, his face going white, in the way he'd stop mid-sentence, struggling to catch his breath. In the morning she found him sitting on the edge of the bed at dawn, his head in his hands, his whole body trembling. Alexei. She was beside him instantly. What's wrong? Episode, he managed. My heart. It's racing. Can't slow it down. Fear clawed at Anna's throat, but she forced herself to stay calm. What do you need? Should I call for the physician? No, just... He reached for her hand, gripping it tightly. Just stay. Please. Anna wrapped her arms around him, pressing her cheek against his back, feeling the frantic, erratic pounding of his heart through his skin. I'm here. I'm right here. Breathe with me, Alexei. In and out. Slow. She demonstrated, exaggerating her breaths, and gradually felt him matching her rhythm. Slowly, so slowly, his heartbeat began to steady. The trembling eased, color returned to his face. Better? She whispered after long minutes. Better. His voice was hoarse. Thank you. Don't thank me for loving you. He turned to pull her into his lap, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. This is going to get worse, he said quietly. The episodes will become more frequent. Eventually I'll be too weak to leave my bed. I'll need constant care. Anna, I need you to know what you're signing up for. I already know. You say that now, but when it happens, I'll still be here. She pulled back to look at him. Did you think I'd only love you when it was easy? That I'd stay for the good parts and leave when things got hard? Alexei, I'm your wife. In the ways that matter, I'm your wife. And I'm not going anywhere. Tears slipped down his face. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she agreed, making him laugh wetly. But you're stuck with me anyway. Thank God for that, he whispered, and kissed her. That afternoon a letter arrived. Anna was in the drawing room working on a watercolor of the view from the window when Mrs. Whitmore brought it in on a silver tray. For you, Your Grace, she said, from your father's estate. Anna's hands shook as she broke the seal. The letter was from her father's physician. Dear Your Grace, I write with the most wonderful news. Your father has made a remarkable recovery. The treatments have been extraordinarily effective. While he will require continued care and medication, the immediate danger has passed. He is asking for you. I thought you would wish to know immediately. With deepest respect, Dr. Harrison. Joy and relief flooded through Anna. Her father was going to live. Really live, not just survive. She found Alexei in the library, bent over ledgers. "He's better," she said breathlessly. "My father, the physicians say he's recovering." Alexei's face lit up. "Anna, that's wonderful." He stood and pulled her into his arms. "See, some good has come from our arrangement." Our arrangement. The words hit her strangely. This had started as an arrangement, a business transaction, but it had become so much more. "Alexei," she said slowly, an idea forming. "What if we made this real? What if we actually married? Not pretend, but truly. In a church, with vows that mean something?" He went very still. "Anna, I know what you're going to say. That it's not fair to me that I'll be a widow too soon, that I'll be tied to grief, but I don't care." She gripped his shirt, desperate to make him understand. "I want to be your wife, really, legally, forever, however long forever is." "You're asking me to marry you," he said wonderingly. "Yes, I'm asking you to marry me." For a long moment, he just looked at her. This man who'd given her everything, who'd saved her father, who'd opened his broken heart and let her inside. "Yes," he whispered. "Yes, Anna, I'll marry you." She kissed him then, pouring all her love and hope and desperate joy into the connection. When they broke apart, both were smiling through tears. "We'll do it soon," Alexei said, "before I get too weak. I want to stand beside you and say those vows while I still can. I want one day where everything is perfect and real, and completely ours." "Then let's plan it," Anna said. "A small ceremony. Just us and the people who matter. Something beautiful." "Everything with you is beautiful," Alexei said softly. "You make the world beautiful just by being in it." Anna pressed her face against his chest, listening to his flawed, failing, fiercely beating heart, and let herself believe, just for this moment, that love might be stronger than death. That maybe, just maybe, they could have their happy ending after all. The chapel at Ashborne was small and ancient, built of grey stone worn smooth by centuries. Ivy climbed its walls. Stained glass windows filtered autumn sunlight into pools of coloured light, sapphire, ruby, emerald, that danced across the flagstone floor. Anna stood in the vestibule, wearing a gown of cream silk that Madame Lisette had created in just 3 days. Simple, elegant, perfect. Her hair was crowned with autumn roses from the conservatory. The diamonds Alexei had given her sparkled at her throat. "You look like an angel," her father said beside her, his voice still weak but growing stronger every day. The physicians had allowed him to travel for the ceremony, and seeing him standing upright, colour in his cheeks, was the greatest gift Anna could have imagined. "I'm nervous," she admitted. "Don't be. That young man loves you desperately. I can see it in the way he looks at you." Her father squeezed her hand. "I know this has all happened quickly. I know there are circumstances you haven't explained. But Anna, my darling girl, I see happiness in your eyes, and that's all a father can ask for. If only he knew the truth. If only he understood that this happiness came with an expiration date, that she was about to bind herself to a man she'd lose too soon." But looking into her father's kind, knowing eyes, Anna realized he probably did understand. At least some of it. And he was giving her his blessing anyway. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." "My brave girl," he said, tears in his eyes. "Now come, your husband is waiting." The chapel doors opened. Inside, candles blazed everywhere, on the altar, in sconces along the walls, in tall stands flanking the aisle. Alexei had made sure there would be no shadows, no darkness to fear, only light, and at the end of the aisle, standing before the altar, was Alexei. Anna's breath caught. He wore formal black. His coat fitted perfectly across his broad shoulders, a silver waistcoat that caught the candlelight. But it was his face that made her heart stutter, the way he looked at her as she began walking toward him, like she was a vision, like she was everything he'd ever wanted, like she was his salvation and his doom intertwined. His eyes glistened with tears he didn't try to hide. The aisle seemed both infinitely long and heartbreakingly short. Then her father was placing her hand in Alexei's, and the warmth of his touch grounded her in the moment. They'd invited only a handful of people, her father, a few trusted servants, Lord and Lady Wintercrest, who'd become unlikely friends. Everyone else who mattered was absent, his family dead, hers scattered or estranged. But somehow, the intimacy made it more real, more precious. The vicar began speaking, his voice echoing in the stone space. The familiar words of the ceremony washed over Anna, but all she could focus on was Alexei. The way his thumb stroked across her knuckles, the way he never looked away from her face, the way his chest rose and fell with each careful breath. Do you, Alexei Edward Ashborne, take Anna Catherine Winthrop to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do you part? A muscle jumped in Alexei's jaw. His grip on her hands tightened. Till death do you part. The words that for most couples were a distant abstraction, for them, a looming reality. I do, Alexei said, his voice rough but steady. I do. The vicar turned to Anna. Do you, Anna Catherine Winthrop, take Alexei Edward Ashborne to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do you part? Anna looked into Alexei's intense dark eyes and saw everything, his love, his fear, his desperate hope that this moment could last forever. She thought about the time they didn't have, the future being stolen from them, the heartbreak that was coming, and she chose it anyway. I do, she said clearly. I do. Alexei's composure cracked. A tear slipped down his cheek. The vicar smiled. Then, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Alexei stepped closer, his hands coming up to frame her face with aching gentleness. My wife, he whispered. My Anna. My love. My husband, she whispered back. Forever. Forever, he echoed and kissed her. It wasn't the passionate kiss of lovers lost in desire. It was something deeper, a promise, a plea, a prayer, all wrapped into one tender connection. Anna felt his tears on her cheeks, or maybe they were hers, felt his hands trembling, felt the weight of vows that meant everything because time meant nothing. When they pulled apart, the small gathering applauded softly. But Anna and Alexei stayed lost in each other, foreheads pressed together, breathing the same air, existing in a moment that felt suspended outside of time. I love you, Alexei breathed. Whatever happens, remember that. I love you more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. I know, Anna said. I love you too, always. The wedding breakfast was held in the conservatory, Alexei's gift to Anna, filling his mother's sacred space with joy and life. Tables had been set among the roses and vines, laden with delicate pastries and champagne. Soft music drifted through the glass-roofed room. Anna sat beside Alexei at the head table, his hand covering hers, their rings glinting in the dappled sunlight, filtering through the glass. She wore his mother's wedding ring now, a simple band of gold that felt warm and right on her finger. Lord Wintercrest stood to give a toast. To the Duke and Duchess of Ashborne, he said, raising his glass. May your love be a light in dark times, a comfort in difficult days, and a joy that multiplies with every year you have together. Every year you have together. The guests drank, unaware of the bitter irony in those words. After the breakfast, as guests mingled and talked, Anna's father approached them. Your Grace, he said to Alexei formally, then softer. Son, may I have a word? Alexei glanced at Anna, who nodded. Of course, sir. They stepped aside, and though Anna couldn't hear their conversation, she watched their faces, saw her father speak earnestly, saw Alexei's expression shift from surprise to something that looked like gratitude, saw them embrace, a brief masculine gesture that somehow conveyed everything. When Alexei returned, his eyes were red-rimmed. Your father is a good man, he said hoarsely. What did he say? He thanked me for saving his life, and then he told me. Alexei swallowed hard. He told me he knows I'm ill, that he'd pieced it together from things the physicians said, from the way you look at me sometimes. And he said he'd never seen you happier than you are with me, that whatever time we have, he's grateful you found love, even if it's going to hurt. Tears filled Anna's eyes. He said that? He also made me promise to take care of you for as long as I can, and to make sure you're provided for after I'm gone. Alexei's voice broke. He called me his son, Anna. No one has called me that since my own father died." Anna wrapped her arms around him, holding him while he fought for composure. Around them the party continued, laughter and music and celebration, but in their small bubble there was only this: two people clinging to each other, grateful for love and terrified of loss, choosing joy despite knowing sorrow was coming. "This is the best day of my life," Alexei whispered into her hair. "Thank you for giving me this, for making me your husband." "Thank you for making me your wife," Anna replied, "really and truly." They stayed like that until the sun began to set, until the guests began to depart, until only the candlelight remained to chase away the gathering dark. That night, Anna and Alexei retreated to his chambers, now their chambers. The servants had moved her belongings earlier, merging their lives into one shared space. Hannah stood by the window, looking out at the garden silvered with moonlight, feeling the weight of the day settling over her. They were married, really married. No more pretending, no more careful distance, just love, and time running out. She felt Alexei's presence behind her before he touched her. His arms came around her waist, pulling her back against his chest, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Are you happy?" he murmured. "More than I thought possible." Even knowing what's coming, Anna turned in his arms to face him, especially knowing what's coming, because it makes every moment precious, because there's no time to waste on doubt or fear or holding back. She cupped his face in her hands. "I'm grateful for today, Alexei. I'm grateful for you." His eyes closed, his expression one of exquisite pain. "I wish I could give you more. I wish I could give you decades instead of months, children, a future, all the things you deserve." "You've given me everything that matters," Anna said firmly. "You've given me love, real, consuming, beautiful love. That's worth more than a lifetime of empty years with someone else." "Anna." "No." She kissed him softly. "No more regrets tonight. Tonight is perfect. Let's not poison it with sorrow." Alexei searched her eyes, then slowly nodded. "All right. No sorrow. Just us. Just us," she agreed. He kissed her then, deeply, thoroughly, with a passion tempered by tenderness. His hands moved to her hair, removing pins until her curls tumbled free. His fingers tangled in the strands, and he made a sound low in his throat that made her pulse race. Texto politicus. YouTube, T-Ext+1. "I love you," he breathed against her mouth. "My wife, my Anna, my everything." "Show me," Anna whispered. "Show me how much." What passed between them that night was sacred, an intimacy born of love and trust, and the knowledge that every touch, every kiss, every moment was stolen from fate. They moved together in candlelight and shadows, discovering each other with reverence and passion, creating memories to sustain them through whatever darkness lay ahead. And when they finally lay tangled together in the early hours of morning, both drowsy and sated and utterly content, Alexei pressed his lips to her temple and whispered words that broke and healed her heart in equal measure. "Thank you for marrying me. Thank you for choosing this. Thank you for loving me enough to let me go when the time comes." Anna held him tighter, feeling his heart beating against hers, flawed and failing but still fighting. "I'll never let you go," she whispered. "Even after you're gone, Alexei, you'll still be mine. Always." "Always," he echoed. And wrapped in each other's arms, surrounded by candlelight that refused to surrender to darkness, they fell asleep as husband and wife, two souls bound by vows that death might break, but love would remember forever. Winter arrived at Ashborne Hall with merciless beauty. Snow blanketed the grounds in white silence. Ice crystals formed intricate patterns on the windows. The world became sharp and cold and breathtakingly fragile, much like the time Anna and Alexei had left together. It had been 6 weeks since their wedding. 6 weeks of stolen joy and creeping fear. 6 weeks of watching Alexei grow weaker with each passing day. Anna noticed everything. The way he moved more carefully now, conserving energy. The way he'd pause at the top of stairs, one hand pressed to his chest waiting for his heart to settle. The way color would drain from his face suddenly, leaving him pale and trembling. The way he tried to hide it all from her. She said nothing. What could she say? They both knew what was happening. This morning she woke to find his side of the bed empty. Panic seized her, immediate, visceral, until she heard water running in the adjoining bathing room. She pressed her hand to her racing heart and forced herself to breathe. He's fine, he's just bathing. Stop assuming the worst. But the worst was always there now, lurking at the edges of every moment like a wolf waiting for weakness. Hannah rose and dressed in a warm morning gown of deep burgundy wool. She moved to the window, watching snow fall in lazy spirals from a grey sky. The gardens below were transformed into something from a fairy tale, all white curves and glittering surfaces. Beautiful, cold, temporary, like everything in her life now. "You're awake." She turned to find Alexei standing in the doorway of the bathing room, wearing only trousers, his chest bare, his dark hair damp and curling slightly at the ends. He was thinner than he'd been 6 weeks ago. She could see his ribs now, could count the planes and angles of muscle stretched over bone. But he was still beautiful, still hers. "I woke and you weren't there," Anna said, trying to keep her voice light. "I worried." "I'm sorry." He crossed to her, his movements careful, controlled. "I didn't want to wake you. You were sleeping so peacefully. I don't want peaceful sleep. I want you beside me." Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, guilt, love all tangled together. He pulled her into his arms and she pressed her cheek against his bare chest, listening to the erratic rhythm of his heart. Too fast, then stuttering, then racing again. The sound that haunted her dreams. "How are you feeling today?" she asked quietly. "Well enough." "Alexei." "Anna." His tone was gentle but firm. "Don't make me list my symptoms every morning. Please. I'm your wife. I have a right to know, and I'm your husband, and I have a right to spend my mornings holding you without discussing death." His arms tightened around her. Can we just have this? Just for a little while?" Anna's throat tightened with tears she refused to shed. "Yes, of course." They stood like that for long minutes, wrapped in each other, watching snow fall beyond the window. No words, just presence, just the stubborn defiance of two people choosing love over fear. Finally Alexei spoke. "I want to take you somewhere today." "Where?" "It's a surprise, but dress warmly, we'll be outside." "Alexei, if you're not feeling well, I'm well enough for this." He pulled back to look at her, his storm-grey eyes intense. "Please, Anna, let me give you this." She couldn't refuse him anything, not when he looked at her like that, not when every request might be among his last. "All right," she whispered. "Let me dress." An hour later, bundled in a heavy cloak lined with fur, Anna followed Alexei out into the winter wonderland that had once been Ashbourne's grounds. The cold bit at her cheeks, turned her breath to clouds of vapor. Snow crunched under their boots. The world was utterly silent except for the whisper of falling flakes and their own breathing. Alexei led her away from the house, past the frozen lake, into a section of the woods she'd never explored. His pace was slow but steady. She stayed close, ready to catch him if he stumbled, watching for any sign he was pushing himself too hard. "Where are we going?" she asked. "You'll see." They walked for perhaps 15 minutes before the trees opened into a small clearing, and there, in the center, stood something that made Anna's breath catch. A cottage, small, stone, covered in snow. Smoke curled from the chimney, suggesting someone had recently lit a fire inside. It looked like something from a children's story, charming, rustic, utterly enchanting. "What is this?" Anna breathed. "It was the gamekeeper's cottage," Alexei said, "but it's been empty for years. I've been having it restored. For us." "For us?" He took her hand, led her to the door. "Come inside." The interior was warm from the fire crackling in the hearth. Simple furniture, a bed with a thick quilt, a table and chairs, a small kitchen area. But what caught Anna's attention was the painting supplies stacked in the corner. Canvases, paints, brushes, everything she could possibly need, and on the walls, her paintings. The watercolors she'd done in the conservatory over the past weeks, now framed and displayed like they were treasures. "Alexei," she whispered, tears spilling over. "This is—" "I wanted to give you something that was just ours," he said quietly. "Away from the hall, away from servants and society and obligations. A place where we could be just Anna and Alexei, not Duchess and Duke, just us." He moved to stand behind her, his arms coming around her waist. "And I wanted you to have a place to paint, a studio of your own, somewhere you could create without interruption." Anna turned in his arms, looking up at his face. "When did you do all this?" "I started before we married. Finished it last week while you were visiting your father." His thumb brushed away her tears. "Do you like it?" "I love it." Her voice broke. "I love you. I love you too." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips, soft, tender kisses that tasted of snow and promise. "I want us to spend time here. However much time I have left. I want to build memories in this place. Good memories, happy ones." Anna understood what he wasn't saying. When he was gone, she'd have this cottage, this place they'd made theirs, somewhere to come and remember and grieve and eventually heal. He was already thinking about her future. The one without him in it. "No," she said fiercely. "Don't do that. Don't start planning for your absence. You're here now. We're here now. That's what matters." Alexei's smile was sad. "Anna, I mean it." She gripped his shirt, desperate to make him understand. "I know you think you're being practical, being kind, preparing me, but I don't want to be prepared. I want to be present, with you, for every moment we have. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need you." She pulled him closer. "So no more talk of after. Only now, promise me." For a long moment he just looked at her. Then, slowly, he nodded. "All right, I promise. Only now." "Good." Anna kissed him, pouring all her desperation and love and defiance into the connection. "Now show me this cottage properly. Show me where we're going to make all these good memories." A real smile crossed his face, the first genuine, unguarded smile she'd seen in days. "With pleasure, my love." They spent the rest of the morning in their cottage, exploring every corner, planning how they'd use the space, making love by the fire with snow falling beyond the windows and the rest of the world forgotten. And for those stolen hours, Anna let herself believe that this could last, that they could have more than borrowed time, that love might be enough to hold back the darkness. It wasn't true. But in that moment, wrapped in Alexei's arms with firelight painting shadows on the walls, it felt like it could be. And sometimes, feeling was enough. The episode came 3 days later. Anna was in the library, reading aloud to Alexei while he rested on the sofa, his head in her lap. It had become their routine, afternoons spent like this, her voice filling the quiet, his eyes closed in contentment, her fingers stroking through his hair. She was mid-sentence when she felt him go rigid. "Alexei!" His eyes flew open wide with panic, his hand clutched at his chest. His mouth opened, but no sound came out except a choked gasp. Terror flooded through Anna. "Mrs. Whitmore, someone, fetch the physician, now!" She heard running footsteps, shouting, chaos erupting around them. But all Anna could focus on was Alexei, his face white as death, his body convulsing, his heart racing so fast she could see it hammering against his ribs. "I'm here," she said, cradling his face. "I'm here, Alexei. Breathe, try to breathe." He couldn't. His lips were turning blue, his eyes rolled back. "No, no, no, please, God, no, not yet, not like this. Your Grace, let me—" The physician was suddenly there, pushing Anna aside, pressing his ear to Alexei's chest. "His heart, we need to get him to bed now, carefully." Footmen materialized, lifting Alexei with practiced care, carrying him from the library up the stairs to their chambers. Anna followed, her legs somehow still working despite the terror turning her blood to ice. They laid him on the bed. The physician worked quickly, loosening Alexei's clothes, administering something from a vial, pressing cold compresses to his throat and wrists. "What's happening?" Anna demanded. "What can I do?" "His heart is in arrhythmia. The chambers aren't beating in coordination. I've given him digitalis to help regulate it, but—" The physician's face was grim. "Your Grace, you should prepare yourself. These episodes are becoming more frequent, more severe. His heart is failing faster than we anticipated." "How long?" The words came out as a whisper. "Days. Weeks at most. I'm sorry." The world tilted. Anna gripped the bedpost to keep from falling. Days. Weeks at most. Not months. Not the time they thought they had. Days. She looked at Alexei, lying pale and still on their bed, his chest rising and falling in shallow, labored breaths. This couldn't be happening, it was too soon. They'd only been married 6 weeks, only been truly together for a matter of months. It wasn't enough time. It would never be enough time. "Leave us," Anna said, her voice hollow. "Your Grace, leave us." She turned to face the physician, and whatever he saw in her expression made him step back. "I'll call if he worsens. But right now, I need to be alone with my husband." The physician nodded and retreated, taking the servants with him. The door closed with a soft click. Silence descended. Anna moved to the bed, climbing up to lie beside Alexei. She pressed her body against his, one hand over his heart, feeling the erratic flutter beneath her palm. His skin was cold. Too cold. "Don't you dare," she whispered. "Don't you dare leave me yet. We have more time. We're supposed to have more time." His eyelids fluttered. "Anna?" Relief crashed through her. "I'm here. I'm right here." "What happened?" "Your heart. It stopped cooperating, but the physician gave you medicine. You're going to be all right." The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. Alexei's hand found hers, squeezing weakly. "I scared you. Terrified me. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Just stay with me. Please. I'm trying." His voice was barely audible. "Anna, I need to tell you—" "No." She pressed her fingers to his lips. "No last words. No goodbyes. You're not dying today. Do you hear me? You're not dying today." "But when you do, I'll survive it somehow, but not today. Today you're going to rest and get stronger, and tomorrow we're going back to our cottage. We're going to spend the day by the fire, and I'm going to paint while you read to me. That's what's happening tomorrow." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "You're so stubborn. I learned from the best." She kissed his forehead gently. "Now sleep. I'll be right here. I'm not going anywhere. Promise?" "I promise." His eyes closed. His breathing gradually steadied. The frantic flutter of his heart slowed to something approaching normal, or at least normal for him. Anna held him while afternoon light faded to evening, while servants came and went bringing food she didn't eat, while candles were lit throughout the room to chase away shadows. She held him and counted heartbeats and refused to think about the physician's words. Days, weeks at most. No, she wouldn't accept it. They would have more time. They had to have more time. She would make time bend to her will if she had to, because the alternative, a world without Alexei in it, was simply unthinkable. Alexei recovered from the episode, but something had changed. He was weaker now, noticeably so. Walking from bed to chair exhausted him. Climbing stairs was impossible. He spent most of his days in their chambers, or the small sitting room adjacent, wrapped in blankets, watching Anna with eyes that held too much awareness of his own fragility. But he was stubborn as she was. "Read to me," he'd say, and she would, until her voice grew hoarse. "Tell me about your childhood," he'd request, and she would, spinning stories of happier times, until his eyes crinkled with laughter. "Paint something for me," he'd whisper. And she would set up her easel by the window, working while he watched, his gaze following every brushstroke like he was memorizing her movements. They were making memories, deliberately, desperately, filling every moment with something worth remembering. One afternoon, about a week after the severe episode, Anna found Alexei sitting at his desk in the sitting room writing. He had papers spread before him, his hand moving across the page in steady strokes. "What are you working on?" she asked, settling into the chair beside him. He hesitated, then showed her. Letters, dozens of them, each sealed and addressed in his elegant script. "I'm writing to you," he said quietly. "Letters for after I'm gone. One for your first birthday without me. One for the anniversary of our wedding. One for when you find someone new to love. Don't argue. You will and you should. One for when you're happy again and feel guilty about it. One for when you're so angry at me for leaving that you could scream." Anna's vision blurred with tears. "Alexei, I need to do this," he said, his voice cracking. "I need to know that part of me will still be with you, that I can still, I don't know, comfort you, remind you that you were loved, are loved, will always be loved. I know I'm loved. But someday you'll forget. Someday the pain will fade and I'll fade with it. And that's good, Anna. That's what should happen. But I want to leave you pieces of me anyway. Selfish little breadcrumbs of memory scattered through your future." Anna took his hand, pressed it to her cheek. "You're not selfish. You're the most generous person I've ever known. I'm dying and making you watch. There's nothing generous about that. You're loving me until your last breath. There's nothing more generous than that. He pulled her into his lap, carefully because sudden movements made him dizzy now, and held her while they both cried. Not the desperate sobs of before, but quieter tears. The kind that came from acceptance rather than denial. I want to write you a letter too, Anna said finally, for you to read at the end, when you know it's time. Alexei's arms tightened around her. All right. That evening, while Alexei napped, Anna sat at the desk and poured her heart onto paper. My dearest Alexei, if you're reading this, then we're near the end, and I want you to know, I have no regrets. You asked me once if I could bear loving you knowing I'd lose you. The answer is yes, 1,000 times yes. Loving you has been the greatest privilege of my life. You gave me so much more than you know. You saved my father. You gave me a home. You taught me that love doesn't have to make sense or be convenient or even survivable to be worth it. I'm not going to tell you not to be afraid. Fear is human. But I will tell you this. You're not dying alone. You're not unloved. You're not leaving nothing behind. You're leaving me, changed, transformed, forever marked by having been loved by you. So when the darkness comes, don't fight it. Let go. I'll be all right. It will hurt. God, it will hurt, but I'll survive it. I'll live the life you wanted for me. I'll be happy again someday, just like you told me I would be. But I'll never forget you. Never stop loving you. You'll be woven into every part of who I become. Thank you for 6 months of pretending. That became a lifetime of real love. Thank you for every moment. Thank you for choosing me. Go gently into that good night, my love, and know that you were everything. Forever yours, Anna. She sealed the letter and placed it on his desk where he'd find it when he needed it. Then she crawled into bed beside him, curling around his sleeping form, listening to the irregular rhythm of his heart, and let herself cry until there were no tears left. Tomorrow she would be strong again. Tomorrow she would smile and laugh and make more memories. But tonight she grieved for what was coming, for the man she loved, for the future they would never have. Tonight she let herself break, because tomorrow she'd have to be whole enough for both of them. The morning dawned clear and cold, with sunlight turning the snow-covered grounds into a field of diamonds. Anna woke to find Alexei already awake, watching her with an expression that made her heart ache. There was something in his eyes, a clarity, a peace, a terrible knowingness. "Good morning," she whispered. "The best morning," he replied. "I feel better today, stronger. Like my body is giving me one last gift." Anna understood what he wasn't saying. This was it, the brief surge of energy that sometimes came at the end, the last good day before the final decline. "Then let's not waste it," she said, forcing brightness into her voice. "What do you want to do?" "Everything." He smiled, and it was his real smile, the one that made him look young and unguarded and achingly alive. "I want to do everything with you today." They broke fast in bed, feeding each other pastries and laughing at how much they got on the sheets. They dressed slowly, helping each other, turning the mundane task into something tender. Anna chose his favorite waistcoat, deep blue that matched her eyes. He selected her favorite dress, the cream one from their wedding. "We match," he said, spinning her around to look in the mirror. Behind her reflection, his arms came around her waist. "We look like we belong together." "We do belong together." "Yes," he agreed softly. "We do." They went to the cottage, taking the journey slowly, stopping to look at birds and examine frost patterns on branches and simply exist in the winter wonderland. Alexei's breath came hard by the time they arrived, but his smile never faded. Inside, he insisted on building up the fire himself. Anna watched him work, memorizing every movement, the way he stacked the logs, the care he took with kindling, the satisfaction on his face when flames caught and held. "There," he said, turning to her. "Now it's perfect." And it was. The cottage warm and glowing, snow falling beyond the windows. Just the two of them in their own small world. "Dance with me," Alexei said suddenly. "There's no music." "Then sing. You have a beautiful voice." "I do not." "Anna." He extended his hand. "Dance with me, please." She took his hand, let him pull her close, and she sang an old lullaby her mother used to hum, simple and sweet. They swayed together in front of the fire, barely moving, just holding each other and existing in the moment. "I wish we could stay like this forever," Alexei murmured against her hair. "We can. In memory. This moment. We'll keep it forever. Promise me you'll remember this. Not the hard days, not the pain. This. Us. Happy. I promise." They made love that afternoon in front of the fire, slowly, tenderly, with a reverence that transcended physical pleasure. It was goodbye wrapped in connection. It was love given form. It was holy. Afterward, they lay tangled together under a thick blanket, skin against skin, hearts beating in imperfect synchronization. "Anna," Alexei said quietly, "I need to tell you something, and I need you to just listen. Can you do that?" Fear clutched at her heart, but she nodded. "I'm listening." "I'm ready," he said simply. "I've been fighting so hard to stay, to give you more time, to not leave you. But I'm tired, my love. So tired. And I think it's time." "No. You promised to listen." His hand found hers, squeezed gently. "It's all right. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm sad to leave you. God, I'm heartbroken to leave you. But I'm not afraid, because of you. Because you loved me enough that I got to die having known what it means to be truly cherished." Tears streamed down Anna's face. "Please don't go yet, please. I'm not ready." "You'll never be ready. Neither will I, but it's coming anyway." He turned to face her, cupping her cheek. "I love you. That's all that matters in the end. I love you, and you love me, and that's the whole story. Everything else is just details." "I love you so much," Anna sobbed. "So much it feels like I'm being torn apart." I know. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "But you're going to survive this. You're going to live and be happy and fall in love again and have the beautiful life you deserve. And I'll be watching from wherever souls go when bodies give up, cheering you on, so proud of you. Stop talking like you're leaving today." "I'm not. But soon. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next week. So I needed to say this while I still could." His eyes held hers, grey and infinite and full of love. "Thank you for the best few months of my life. Thank you for marrying me. Thank you for loving me even when I told you not to. Breaking that rule was the best thing I ever did. Mine too." He smiled through his own tears. "Now let's go back. I'm getting cold, and I want to spend tonight in our bed, holding you, making our last memories as perfect as possible." They dressed and made the slow journey back to Ashborne Hall. Alexei leaned heavily on Anna, his strength already fading now that the surge had passed. By the time they reached their chambers, he was trembling with exhaustion. Anna helped him into bed, piling blankets around him, lighting every candle in the room until it blazed with light. "Better?" she asked. "Perfect." He patted the space beside him. "Now come here, I need you close." She climbed in beside him and he wrapped his arms around her, tucking her head under his chin. "Tell me a story," he whispered. "Something happy. Something with a good ending." So, Anna did. She told him about a duke and a woman who fell in love against all odds, who chose each other despite time running out, who built a lifetime into a few perfect months, who loved so completely that death itself couldn't diminish it. She talked until his breathing evened out, until his grip loosened, until he slept peacefully in her arms, and she stayed awake, counting heartbeats, memorizing the weight of him against her, etching every detail into memory. Because she knew, with terrible certainty, that their last good day was ending, and tomorrow everything would change. The physician moved into Ashborne Hall the next day. Alexei's condition had deteriorated overnight. The surge of energy from the previous day had been his body's final gift, and now it was demanding payment. He could barely sit up without assistance. His lips had a bluish tinge. His breathing was labored, each breath a visible effort. "Days now," the physician told Anna quietly. "Perhaps less. Keep him comfortable, talk to him. Hearing is often the last sense to go, and prepare yourself, Your Grace." Anna nodded numbly. How did one prepare for this? How did you steel yourself against losing the person who'd become your entire world? She spent every moment at Alexei's side. She read to him when he was awake. She held his hand when he slept. She whispered stories and memories and promises into his ear. "I love you. I'll be all right. You can let go. It's okay to let go. Her father came traveling despite the winter cold. He sat with Alexei for an hour, speaking in low tones Anna couldn't hear. When he emerged, his eyes were red-rimmed. "He's a good man," her father said, embracing her. "I'm honored to have called him son, even if only briefly." "He's not gone yet," Anna said fiercely. "No, but Anna, you need to say goodbye. Really say goodbye. Give him permission to leave. It's the last gift you can give him." "I can't." "You can. You're the strongest person I know." He kissed her forehead. "I'll be downstairs if you need me." Anna returned to Alexei's side. He was awake, watching her with eyes that seemed too large in his gaunt face. "Your father is a good man," he rasped. "He said the same about you." "Anna, come here." She climbed into bed beside him, careful not to jostle him. His arm came around her weakly. "I read your letter," he whispered. "The one you left for me." "And?" "It was perfect. You're perfect." His hand found hers, squeezed with what little strength he had left. "I'm scared." The admission broke her. "I know. I am too. Will you stay with me? Until the end?" "Until the end. And beyond. Forever, Alexei. Forever," he echoed. They lay like that as afternoon faded to evening, as candles were lit throughout the room, as his breathing grew more labored and his heartbeat became increasingly erratic beneath her palm. "Anna," he said suddenly, his voice clearer than it had been in days. "I see her, my mother. She's here, she's—" He smiled and it was radiant. "She's beautiful and she's saying it's time." Terror and heartbreak warred in Anna's chest. "Then go to her," she whispered. "Go be with her. I'll be all right. Promise me you'll be happy. I promise. Promise me you'll love again. Alexei, promise me. Please. I need to know you won't be alone forever." "I promise," she sobbed. "I promise I'll try. That's all I ask." His eyes closed. "I love you, Anna Ashborne. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. My brief, beautiful miracle. I love you too. So much, so much." His breathing changed, became shallow, rapid, then slow, then... "Alexei?" No response. "Alexei, please, please don't go yet, please." His chest rose once more, fell, and didn't rise again. The silence was deafening. Anna pressed her ear to his chest, desperate for a heartbeat. Nothing. She shook him gently. "Alexei, Alexei." Nothing. He was gone. The man she loved, the Duke who'd been so afraid of darkness, who'd slept with candles burning, who'd looked at her like she was precious, was gone. The scream that tore from Anna's throat was primal, anguished, the sound of a heart breaking in real time. Servants rushed in. The physician confirmed what she already knew. Her father held her while she sobbed against his chest, held her while she shattered completely, held her while the world ended and began again without Alexei in it. She didn't remember much of the next hours. There were people, voices, arrangements being made, Alexei's body being prepared, but all she could think was, "He's gone. He's really gone. And I'm still here. How am I still here when he's gone?" Eventually, when the house had gone quiet, when everyone had left her alone with her grief, Anna returned to their chambers. The candles were still burning, dozens of them, chasing away shadows the way Alexei had always needed. She found the stack of letters he'd written for her, picked up the first one. It read, "For when you feel like you can't breathe." With trembling hands, she opened it. "My Anna, right now you're drowning. I know because I felt that way too. The crushing weight of loss, the inability to draw air, the sense that you'll never feel whole again. But you will breathe. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, little by little, breath by breath. And when you do, know that I'm proud of you. Know that your survival honors me. Know that living, really living, is the greatest gift you can give my memory. Breathe, my love. Just breathe. Yours always, Alexei." Anna clutched the letter to her chest and did what it asked. She breathed. In, out, in, out. It hurt. God, it hurt so much she thought she might die from it. But she breathed anyway. For him. For herself. For the future he'd wanted her to have. And in the candle-lit room where she'd loved and lost the most extraordinary man she'd ever known, Anna Ashborne took her first steps into a world that would have to exist without him. 1 year later, spring had returned to Ashborne Hall. Anna stood in the conservatory, Alexei's mother's space, now hers, surrounded by blooming roses and green growing things. Sunlight streamed through the glass roof, warm and golden, promising summer ahead. She was painting. A portrait of Alexei from memory. His storm grey eyes, his rare smile, the way he'd looked at her like she was his entire world. It wasn't perfect. She'd never quite capture him accurately. But that was all right. The act of trying was its own kind of remembrance. "Your Grace?" Anna turned to find Mrs. Whitmore in the doorway. "Yes? There's a gentleman here to see you, Lord Wintercrest's cousin, visiting from London. He asked if you'd join him for tea in the garden." Anna's first instinct was to refuse. She'd avoided society for the most part this past year, wrapped in grief and healing. But she remembered Alexei's letter for her 6-month anniversary. Say yes to something today, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you. "Tell him I'll be there shortly," Anna said. Mrs. Whitmore smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "Very good, Your Grace." Anna cleaned her brushes, changed into a fresh dress, and made her way to the gardens. Spring flowers were everywhere, forget-me-nots carpeting the ground in blue, roses beginning to bud, life returning after winter's death. She found the gentleman by the fountain, young, handsome, with kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. "Your Grace," he said, bowing. "Thank you for agreeing to see me. I'm Thomas Winters. I knew your late husband. We were at school together." Anna's heart squeezed. "Please, sit. Tell me about him. I love hearing stories about his life before I knew him." They talked for an hour, then 2. Thomas told her about young Alexei, brilliant, lonely, fiercely loyal to the few friends he had. He made her laugh with tales of their school day misadventures. He made her cry with the affection in his voice when he spoke of the man Alexei had been. "He wrote to me," Thomas said eventually, "about a month before he died, told me about you, how you'd changed everything, how loving you had been the greatest privilege of his life." He met her eyes. "He asked me to check on you after, to make sure you were all right." "And are you?" Anna asked softly. "Checking on me?" "Yes, but also—" He hesitated. "Also because I'd like to know you, if you'd allow it, as a friend, nothing more. I know it's too soon. But friendship, that seemed like something I could offer without causing offense." Anna thought about Alexei's letters, about his insistence that she live, that she be happy, that she eventually love again. She wasn't ready for that last part, might not be for years, but friendship, that felt possible. "I'd like that," she said. "Friendship sounds lovely." Thomas's smile was brilliant. "Then perhaps I could visit again, next week. We could walk the grounds and you could tell me how you're managing the estate. I have some experience with land management that might be useful." "I'd like that very much." They talked until the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. When Thomas finally took his leave, Anna walked alone through the gardens, feeling something she hadn't felt in a year. Hope. Small, tentative, but real. She made her way to the cottage as twilight deepened. Inside she lit candles, always candles, because darkness still felt like an enemy, and pulled out the letter Alexei had written for this moment. "For when you find yourself smiling again. My Anna, you're smiling. Really smiling. Not the forced expression you've been wearing for others, but a genuine smile that reaches your eyes. I'm so happy. Don't feel guilty. Don't second guess. Don't think you're betraying my memory by living. This is exactly what I wanted for you. You're allowed to be happy. You're allowed to move forward. You're allowed to love again when you're ready. I'll always be a part of you. First love, great love, forever love. But I don't have to be your only love. Live, Anna, fully, completely, with joy. That's my last wish for you. Your heart holds enough room for both remembering me and embracing whatever comes next. Trust that. I love you, I'm proud of you, and I'm releasing you. Go, be happy, be free. Yours always and in all ways." Alexei. Anna pressed the letter to her heart and looked at her painting of him, the man who'd loved her enough to let her go, who'd prepared her for a future without him, who'd given her every tool she needed to survive his loss. "Thank you," she whispered to the empty cottage, to his memory, to the love that still lived in her heart. "Thank you for everything. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for setting me free." Outside, spring birds sang their evening songs. Inside, candles burned their vigil against the dark. And Anna Ashborne, widow, artist, survivor, smiled through her tears and took another step forward into her future, carrying Alexei with her, always, but no longer bound by grief. Finally, after a year of drowning, she could breathe again, and breathing felt like the greatest gift she'd ever been given. The end. Thank you for joining Anna and Alexei on their journey. A love story that proved love doesn't need forever to be real, just moments that matter. Subscribe for more stories that will make you believe in love again, and comment to tell us which moment touched your heart the most.
Silence like a crown. A duke is not allowed to love, only to rule, never to fall down.
You stood there with your eyes so brave, hands worn by honest day, and in that moment all my vow forgot the world I was meant to obey.
I carried duty in my blood, my name carved into stone. But when you look at me like this, I am no longer made of throne.
Love me where the walls can't hear, where titles fade away. If loving you is not my right, then let me choose you anyway.
Hold me like I'm just a man, not the weight I've always been. If loving you is a scandal, let the scandal begin.
They say a duke must never bend, never give his heart away.
But every law was written by men who never felt this pain.
You don't belong to my world, they whisper in the halls, but no one hears my heart when it breaks behind these walls. I stood in rooms of gold and power, felt nothing but control.
But one touch from your trembling hand taught my guarded soul to know.
Love me without your fear, without my